Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. See, yesterday or in our last class, we were revising Plato, and I have said about what Plato has studied so far. This is what I said, right? This is the two revision slots. After revising, I have left you people. Today, I am going to say, or I am going to continue the next one. The next one that is called now I said Plato has recognized the diagnosis or Plato has diagnosed the reasons for failure of or decline of Athens, and he has diagnosed that the reason is ignorance of ruling class. Ignorance of ruling class. Hence, he has given a famous statement which is very important. That is, until philosophers were rulers, until philosophers are rulers, or rulers learn philosophy. Rulers learn philosophy. There is no end. There is no end to the predicament of human life. Predicament of human life. This is what Plato said famously. Until humans are philosophers or philosophers are rulers, there is no end to predicament of human life. Now, what is the meaning of predicament of human life? Predicament means a difficult life or difficulty, unpleasantness. This is the famous statement that Plato has given. Until the philosophers are rulers or rulers learn philosophy, there is no end to the predicament or difficulties of human life. No. For this, he said two things. One is you have to remove the ignorance. Hence, ruler has to be knowledgeable. Second thing is the relation between man and state. How man and state are correlated. That is what he has said. Now, ruler has to be knowledgeable. In this context, he has criticized democracy. I already discussed this. Criticized democracy. Why he has criticized democracy? One, death of Socrates, the wisest man, right? Because this was the rule of Democrats. And as per democracy, as per Plato, any person can become a ruler. Anybody can become a ruler. For example, he says anyone can become a anyone can become a shoe person. Any person can become a shoe polish person. In order to polish shoes, anyone can become. But to make the shoe, but to shoe, make the shoe, it requires training. It requires training. That is what he has said. So just like a shoemaker requires training, ruler requires training. That is what the point is. Ruler requires training. He should have knowledge about the rule. Knowledge about the rule. Hence, in his critique of democracy, so whenever you are writing about theory of knowledge of Plato, you have to write his criticism about democracy, and he has criticized the democracy, and you have to write this, and then the solution is the rule of philosopher king. King has to be a philosopher. Until the philosophers are rulers or rulers of learn philosophy, there is no predicament for this. Next, what is the interdependence between the so-called what is the interdependence between the so-called man and the state as per Plato? What is the interdependence? Until Plato, he says that for a good life of humans, for good life of humans, good state is important. Or it is only a good state. It is only a good state that leads to good life. That leads to good life. So the precondition for good life is a good state. Until good state is there, it is good state that leads to good life. Now in this, who is having the authority or who is having the priority? Who is having priority? Is it a man or a state? The answer is exactly here. For a good life of humans, good state. Good life of humans, good state is precondition. So the precondition for good life of humans is good state, which means it is the state which makes the life of humans happy. As a result, Plato has given importance to state rather than a man. So what does this mean? Giving importance to a state more than man is known as over collectivism over individualism. He has given importance to collectivism over individualism, which means he is giving importance to the whole or to the whole rather than parts. Part means in a state, in a country, state is the whole, individuals are the parts. If individuals are the parts, state is the whole. Next. So actually, what will be the thing? See, there will be in philosophy, there are two traditions. Some people say, this you have studied even in ethics. Some people say individual should be given more important than state. Some people say state should be given more important than individual. Right? So for that, Plato is the one who belongs to this. Aristotle is also the one who belongs to this school of tradition. Socrates belongs to this school of tradition. Society should be given importance to individual, not individual should be given importance to the state. Why they have given importance to the state? Because the good life of individual lies in, or the precondition for good life of human beings is a good state. It is only in a good state that humans can exercise these versions. So what he says is, now if we look at good life and good state, he says that the problems of politics will have solutions in ethics. So what they say is, problem is politics, solution lies in ethics. Thus, all political questions are also ethical questions. Whatever the political questions are there, they say that they are ethical questions. All political questions are ethical questions. So he says that the problem is politics, solutions lies in ethics. For example, what does this mean? Corruption is the corruption and power are interrelated. They run hand in hand. Power and corruption run in hand. What he says, power tends to corrupt, absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely. Power tends to corrupt, absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely. Now, for that, what we did, power tends to corrupt. With power, corruption comes. And if you are giving absolute power, persons are going to corrupt absolutely. For this, in order to overcome this in India, you have got Prevention of Corruption Act 1978. You have got Prevention of Corruption of 1978. Way back in 1978 itself, you have Prevention of Corruption Act. But did it stop the politicians, or did it stop corruption in India? Even today, you are finding corruption in India. So, what Plato says is, the answer for political questions or political problems is not political, that is not laws. Laws are not the answers. Rather, it is ethics. So, solution lies in ethics and not in law. This is what they say. What is ethics? People have to be ethical. Then only, irrespective of laws, you are going to become uncorrupt. Our society is going to become uncorrupt. Same as with anti-defection. Consider anti-defection. People have introduced, our politicians have, our governments have introduced anti-defection laws, but is it preventing people from defecting their parties? No. As a result, problems for politics is not, politics is the problem, solutions is not politics but ethics. That is what the famous statement of this fellow is. Now, next one is, for example, the same context was said by the person called Ambedkar. What Ambedkar said? Ambedkar famously said, howsoever good a constitution may be, howsoever a good constitution may be, it will not work, it will not work if people who are running constitution, people who are running the constitution do not observe constitutional morality. What does this mean? Just like Plato, Ambedkar is also giving the same thing. Whoever Howsoever a good constitution may be, it will not work if people who are running, which means laws can be there, but howsoever good are the laws, they are not, they are of no use until people are having this constitutional morality, which means until philosophers are rulers, the same thing. Until philosophers rule or rulers learn philosophy, there is no end to predicament of human life. Hence, they say that this is the same thing. Now, next. So, this is how they say that the answers for political problems lies in ethics, and hence he says that in order to have ethics, you should have knowledge. Hence, Plato propounded the so-called philosopher king. Who is a philosopher? Philosopher is a person who has knowledge. Hence, the ruler has to have knowledge or he has to be a philosopher king. No. But if you look at why Athens is getting destroyed, is it is not because of philosopher's king, but it is because of democracy, where people are not interested in common interest or community interest, rather they are interested in self. Or self-interest is prevailing over community interest. As a result, Athens is suffering. Hence, he has given a solution for this, that is called collectivism should overcome individual self. So they believe that in order to have self-interest, in order to have individual self, we should have collective self, or the interests of the people are having or lies in the interest of the state. That is the first thing that they have said. So what I am saying is, so far I have discussed this thing called, he has said the problem called ignorance of the ruling class. Until philosophers are rulers and rulers are philosophers, there is no end to the predicament of human life. Predicament and difficulty. Now, why the difficulty? Because with this statement he is saying two things. Rulers has to be knowledgeable. With that he has said philosopher king, and then relation between man and state. What man and state relation is there, and he has said the problems of politics lies in ethics, or the problems of politics have solutions in ethics. The same thing was said by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also. This is what I have said so far. Now, what politics says, Plato theory of knowledge says, already I have said knowledge, hence people should have knowledge. So theory of knowledge says, one, as per Socrates, I already said knowledge is virtue. Hence, Plato also says, until philosophers are rulers, philosophers are rulers, or rulers learn philosophy, there is no end to predicament of human life. Next, hence they say that philosophers should have knowledge to rule. Then only you can have a good life in such a state. Next one. So this is, if they ask about Socrates or Plato's knowledge, you have to write what happens if there is no knowledge, what is Socrates' concept of knowledge, what is Plato's concept of knowledge, and how it is related to the so-called good life as per Plato. Now, why Socrates said knowledge is virtue? Let's have a look at it. Why Socrates said knowledge is a virtue? The reason is Socrates says knowledge is a virtue because knowledge begins, or theory of knowledge begins with the question, what is the purpose of life? If you are questioning this, what is the purpose of your life? Then you can answer, you can come to know what exactly is the work that you have to do. Right? Purpose of life. Then you think that okay, my purpose is to live a good life. Then it is only good life which gives happiness. So the purpose of life is to live a good life. If you consider what is your life or what is the purpose of your life, you think that I have to live very good. That is called good life. And they believe that good life brings happiness. So the purpose of life is happiness. So it is only through knowledge that happiness is going to come, because knowledge will come only with quest or reason first, with the reason. Virtue means goodness. Virtue means excellence. So excellence, virtue, knowledge is ethics, knowledge is virtue. Why? Knowledge is goodness. Knowledge leads to good life. What is goodness? Goodness of human life. So what is that goodness of human life? Happiness. So what they say is the summum bonum, and the supreme goal of human life is happiness. సో ఎవరికైనా సరే హ్యాపీగా ఉండాలి అనేసి అల్టిమేట్గా గోల్ ఉంటుంది. ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు హ్యావ్ దిస్ హ్యాపీనెస్, వాట్ యూ షుడ్ హ్యావ్ నాలెడ్జ్. నాలెడ్జ్ అబౌట్ వాట్? నాలెడ్జ్ అబౌట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ ఫస్ట్. This is what Socrates said. If you have to live a happy life, you should have knowledge, and that is why they say that knowledge is virtue. So to enjoy true happiness, you should have true knowledge. Right? Now, as a result, what you have to do is you have to get enlightened by yourself. Enlightened. So people commit wrong acts. People commit wrong acts. Why? I said because of ignorance. So what you have to do, if someone is connecting wrong acts, you have two ways to correct them. Punish them, or you can enlighten them. Enlighten them. Punishment never solves the problems. Punishment never solves the problems. Because even Gandhiji said, hate the sin, not the sinner. Hate the sin, not the sinner. You can hate sin, but not the sinner. Because if you are hating the sinner, this is called punishing the sinner. It cannot solve the problem. Punishment never makes people good. It never makes people good. Punishment is just a momentary satisfaction. Punishment is a momentary satisfaction. But the real enlightenment is the way in which to reform a human being. So enlightenment, we have to remove ignorance. For example, let's consider in Indian context itself, Valmiki was the first dacoit. Valmiki, at first he was a dacoit. Later, after enlightenment, he became a famous scholar and has written Ramayana. What turned Valmiki, the dreadful dacoit, to be such a to be such a great author. This is enlightenment. So this says that if you want to punish a person who is wrong act, or if you want to change a person who is committing wrong act, then this doesn't come just from punishment. This comes only from enlightenment, and that is what he has said. Hence, knowledge is the solution. Knowledge is the solution for people not to commit wrong acts. Hence, he said knowledge is virtue. This is the concept of Socrates' concept of knowledge. One, knowledge is virtue. Why knowledge? Knowledge, because what is knowledge? Knowledge is knowing what exactly is the purpose of life. Once you know that, your answer will be, my life is here for to live a good life, and good life comes with enlightenment. So over a period of time, enlightenment can come, and enlightenment is the only way to prevent wrong acts and not punishments. Another example you can take is, in India you have many acts to prevent crimes happening against women and children, but still they do continue despite the laws. The reason is people are ignorant. As a result, even your best laws are failing. Hence, enlighten the people first, then only you can solve the problem of heinous crimes in the society. That is what Plato is saying. Now, the second thing is how to get knowledge. Knowledge is a great thing, I said so far. Now, how to get a knowledge? For that, Socrates used a philosophy or method called, the method adapted to get knowledge is dialectics. 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 In order to understand what is dialectics, you should understand what is rhetorics. So, dialectics and rhetorics are opposite terms. Rhetoric is act of swaying public opinion. Rhetorics is away from reality. Away from reality. It is just swaying public opinion. Swaying public opinion. In Hindi, you call it as jumla. Right? Jumla. People do write in Facebook or Twitter. Narendra Modi is saying jumla or doing jumla. What do you mean by swaying public opinion? Just for public opinion, they do or they come on, they say some rhetorics. Just to jumlas are to attract masses. Just to attract masses, you say some rhetorics. Hence, rhetorics will satisfy masses. Like during COVID-19, coming out and creating some sound, right? In order to show patriotism, keeping our DPs of national flag. That is what is swaying the public opinion. This is the so-called satisfying masses. So just to satisfy masses, people will come and say the words. This is called rhetorics. Dialectics on the other side means understanding the truth, whereas they are far away from reality. Rhetorics are far away from reality. These persons are very, very close to reality. What exactly is the truth? What exactly is the truth? So they do not bother about what exactly makes happiness of the masses, but they think about the truth. Whether clapping during the times of corona will kill corona or will eliminate corona, that is what they think. Whether not having the so-called flags as your DPs, won't it become, won't those people who are not keeping their flags, can you call them not patriots? That is the truth, right? Even by not having the so-called flag as your DP, you can be still a patriot. That is what these people say. So rhetorics are those who try to satisfy masses by just saying something to satisfy them, but the ultimate thing dialectics do is they search for the truth. So they say this. Now, what exactly does they do here? Dialectics is a process of filtration. They do filtration. How they filter and what they filter. In filtration, what they will do, you will remove the impurities. How you will remove the impurities? By keeping a filter and making the water to go through this, impurities will be filtered. If you still have some impurities, again you'll use one filter, again you filter this. So just like filtration, in dialectics also what you do is filtration. How you segregate until you get pure water from the so-called impure water, you will be filtering. Until you get the truth, you will be filtering the words, right? These are the words that is saying in rhetorics. So whatever the thing is there, you'll be filtering that until you get the absolute truth. And this is what dialectics do. Dialectics do filtration. They come out with the truth slowly and steadily. As long as the truth emerges, they will be filtering it. Hence dialectics is to filter impurities from our beliefs and thoughts. We have to go for dialectics. Dialectics means cross examining our truths and beliefs. So go for dialectics. What you will do here is you are cross examining your own truths or beliefs or thoughts. Hence, dialectics can be said as cross examining. Hence, dialectics can be said as the process of logical reasoning by which you convert the beliefs into truths. నమ్మకాలలో ఏంటి, నిజాలు ఏంటి, నమ్మకం నుంచి నిజాల వరకు వెళ్ళే ప్రాసెస్ని ఏమంటాం, డయాలెక్టిక్స్ అంటాం. ఎలా వెళ్తామంటే ఒక నమ్మకం తీసుకొని దాన్ని లాజికల్గా అనలైజ్ చేసి లాజికల్గా రీజన్ చేసి ఆర్ క్రాస్ ఎగ్జామిన్ చేసి then you'll find it out what exactly is the truth. This process of filtration of beliefs into truths is known as dialectics. So you can have, how they do is they state a thesis statement and they will give you an antithesis for this. From this they will synthesize one statement. Again that synthesis becomes thesis for the next person, then they say antithesis for this, and again the so-called synthesis, because synthesis becomes thesis. Again synthesis for next round, it becomes thesis. They propound antithesis for this, and then they get synthesis. Like this they synthesize the truth, and finally they will get the answer. In order to emerge truth, hence it requires constant upgradation or constant questioning of the truth, and slowly truth will emerge. So he says that speed is not important but patience is important. Hence in order to emerge truth, speed is very, not speed but patience is important. So if speed is silver, patience is gold, right? That is what they believe. Why? In order to do all this exercise, it takes time. Hence speed is silver, patience is gold, And as a result, that is the reason when you look at the so-called why it takes huge time in order to deliver justice in India. One is the number of cases, the second one is in order to image exactly what has happened in a particular case, they filter through this process. As a result, it has to take the time. Now that is what you have to do. So how Socrates bought truth, or how Socrates tried to get truth. Now, Socrates has a typical method. He used to pretend himself as ignorant and he used to ask people the question from others. When somebody used to respond, Socrates used to ask counter questions. So, first I'll ask you a question, you'll answer, and then I will ask you a counter question. Through this discussion of asking counter questions, you'll find it out with what exactly is the truth. And this method is called dialecticism. You'll be saying one answer for my question, and then, say for example, if I ask what is justice, if you are saying that justice is equality, then I ask what is equality. Equality is treating all the persons equally. Then I will ask again, if treating all the persons equality is equality in your sense, then what about treating an old man and a young man? Do you consider that both are treating both of them are equal? Then you say no, considering both are not equal, right? Hence, again you will change your statement saying that this is not treating equally all the one, but treating equal persons in equal circumstances equally. That is called equality. So this is how slowly through debates, through discussions, you'll come out with solutions. So Socrates used to say the same method, and this method of Socrates is known as the so-called dialecticism. Hence, he said that dialecticism is the method to come out with knowledge. So, knowledge comes from the so called dialecticism. So, this is how he says that dialecticism is important in order to emerge a truth. Now, he says some ideas or theory of idea. So one thing is the method adapted by a person is the method adapted by these persons to get the truth is, or to get the knowledge is, dialecticism. This is what the concept is, how you can become knowledgeable persons, because knowledge is virtue. Hence they say that by using dialecticism you can become a virtuous person. So this is what I wanted to say for the day. We'll continue the rest tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Have a good day.